Greetings and thank you for tuning in to Mr. Story Channel, where you can experience the most fascinating moments on Reddit. It's time for our first story. Am I the jerk for accusing my husband of treating me like hired help instead of his wife in front of his family? I, 34 female, have been married to my husband for 4 years, together for 7.5 years, and we have 2 children, 2.5 and 5 months. My husband was married before we met. He and his ex-wife separated during her pregnancy with their daughter, 13, and divorced after she turned 1. To my stepdaughter, I am Dad's wife. I'm okay with that. We get along fine, mostly. She does struggle to be left with me in charge. My husband knows this. We have discussed this at length. We have worked together to figure out solutions. We even talked with his ex, who is okay with me being around her daughter. I know some aren't, but did not like the idea of her daughter being with me if she could be with her. They don't have a right of first refusal and didn't get it added after this discussion. And generally, I didn't love that I would be in a parent role if alone with her kid. She has a very big dislike for the idea of step-parents becoming just parents, and she has never wanted her daughter to view me as any kind of mother figure. So discussions were had, and agreements were made. On to our issue. My husband always has a very busy period of work in June or July, and he's basically just home to sleep and nothing else. In June, his ex is having surgery and will be out of commission and in the hospital for some time. The ex's surgery was not mentioned to me at all. But Saturday night while we were at my IL's house, my husband started venting about his ex's surgery and her not wanting their daughter to be in my care all day, and his daughter not wanting to have me in charge of her that much, and how he told them I would be doing it and nothing they said or did would change this. He was pissed at his ex and his daughter a little for having such a dislike for me being in charge, even though we get along fine. I asked him when all this happened, and he said it had been a few days. He told me she would be with us from June 6th until July 4th, and possibly longer. He was already told he would need to work most Saturdays in June and July, so he told me I'd need to figure out how to best deal with that. I asked him why he sprung this on me in front of his family instead of discussing it privately. He waved me off and said he knew I wouldn't say no because I love my stepdaughter and I understand that she needs to be with an adult. He saw an expression on my face and told me I couldn't be pissed about it when I knew my stepdaughter was still a kid. I told him I wasn't pissed at her. I was pissed at him. He told me he couldn't help his ex and his daughter being somewhat unreasonable. MIL chimed in and offered to take my stepdaughter during the day for June. He told her I would handle it. She should be with us. This is when I accused him of treating me like hired help and not his wife because he wasn't discussing it with me and was making decisions for me without asking or discussing things through. It was afterward that he told me I shouldn't speak to him like that in front of his family. So, am I overreacting? Next story. Am I the jerk for telling my wife that she needs to seriously work on her mental and physical toughness? My wife, 32 female, and I, 34 male, went to the gym yesterday morning, and at some point, my wife, I will call her Laura, scratched her finger on something. Laura has a history of being selectively sensitive to pain and discomfort. She is a strong and capable woman that I love, but if it's 80 degrees with a breeze, Laura will talk herself into it being too cold to stay outside. The joke between us is that she is like the princess and the pea. These things happen often. I am not exaggerating in the slightest when I say this time the cut was less than half a centimeter wide and 2 millimeters across, just surface level, no larger than a paper cut. Later that night, she remembered the cut and had what I would describe as a meltdown. She said her finger pain was throbbing. She was feeling nauseous from the pain, and she said it was becoming too much. I offered to clean it with hydrogen peroxide, but she said it would hurt too much. I said it bubbles but doesn't burn like alcohol, and you need to clean it if you cut it on gym equipment because it's dirty. As soon as I put a few drops of hydrogen peroxide on it, she collapsed to her knees and said she could not continue. I admit I got a little upset at the theatrics, but it was nothing new at this point. Then after I rinsed the wound in the sink, she is still on her knees crying. I told her I was going to get Neosporin and a Band-Aid, to which she begged me not to add Neosporin because it would hurt. I explained to Laura that Neosporin would actually cause no pain and even add potential relief. She yelled when I put it on and nearly fainted. At this point, I was a little upset and potentially the asshole. I tried to explain to Laura that her body was very resilient, and she is a tough person because I've seen it in our workouts, and the way she can work through brutal work challenges and environments. However, she needs to work on her psychological hang-up on discomfort like this. We want to have kids in the next 2 years, and in all honesty, I don't think she can handle childbirth right now. I said it's something we can work on together, but to start, she needs to get serious and adopt the mentality that her body can handle a lot. I told her it's upsetting that she seems to just give up and surrender to any pain, like she has no will to shake it off. What example would we be setting for our child? What would happen if you were injured and needed to get help without me? We ended up getting into an argument about this. I feel like an asshole, but I don't know how I could have approached this differently. Edit. First, I would like to thank everyone for sharing their thoughts and suggestions. Second, I would like to clarify that I am one of those lucky few who married someone they consider their soulmate. Despite my comments coming across as callous and patronizing, I love and care for my wife tremendously, and I don't believe she sees it that way. However, I'm here for that outside perspective. I'll be with my wife until I'm dead or she finds someone better, even if that means carrying her around for the next 80 years. Lastly, while we have visited doctors in the past, we may not have placed enough value on getting another opinion. That is something I will bring up with my wife again. I do not typically hold an opinion when it comes to my wife's medical care. I believe I may have an old-fashioned approach to doctors, as I have had some bad experiences with misdiagnosis and overprescribed treatments. My attitude when it comes to my wife has always been to get the care that she thinks she needs, as I cannot make that decision for her. We both acknowledge there are differences in the way we pursue medical care. I have never suggested her symptoms or desire to meet with a doctor were not legitimate. When she had not gotten a diagnosis from doctors and they suggested treating it like it was nervousness or anxiety, we both kind of considered it psychological, a pain in the ass, but not overly serious and something we could work on. As my post here would suggest, that is easier said than done. It's a huge gray area trying to figure out if you are being too controlling or if you are enabling. My wife does not have red hair. Is OP doing the right thing, or is he being callous with his wife? Tell me your opinion in the comments. Me, 29 female, and my husband, 27 male, have been married for 2 years and just had our first child, who is 11 weeks old. With a newborn, there's a lot more work to be done around the house than before, and I've had a difficult recovery from birth. We've gotten into a routine at night where he feeds the baby her last bottle and puts her to bed because he's at work all day and doesn't get to spend time with her. Typically, while he does that, I start the dishes and clean up. Tonight, I decided to throw in a load of laundry, clean up our car, pick up the living room, and hand scrub a piece of clothing that had formula spilled all over it, rather than starting the dishes. I consciously made this decision because my husband actually knows how to do the dishes, as opposed to a lot of the miscellaneous things that need to be done around the house that he's largely blind to. My husband came out after spending about 15 minutes feeding the baby and asked me, "What have I been doing for the past 20 minutes?" Once he saw the dishes hadn't been done, I flipped out because I'm exhausted and burned out. He insists he asked because he was just curious and doesn't understand why I'm so angry. Am I overreacting? To me, the question does not seem innocent and makes me feel like he doesn't appreciate everything that I do. It also makes me feel like I don't have the space or allowance to relax if, God forbid, I need a break, even though I am cleaning. He has asked me this question many times before, to the point where I've started making mental lists of things I accomplish in case he asks. Also, I am not a stay-at-home mom. I have a high-intensity and demanding job and am returning from maternity leave in a few weeks. I am almost at a breaking point. My husband used to treat me like a princess, especially when I was pregnant. Now, I feel like he has no appreciation for me or how hard this has been. How do I convey the severity of this without it seeming like I'm making a huge deal out of a little comment? TLDR. My husband asked me what I've been doing for the past 20 minutes after I had been working my ass off, and it's almost gotten me to my breaking point. Please help. Next story. Wife, 32 female. Upset I, 33 male, said in front of everyone that she's no great beauty either. I felt justified shutting her down given the circumstances, and now we are in a bad place. How do we proceed? My wife and I have been together for 3 years. We were set up to date by our parents, so it's mostly a mix between an arranged and a love marriage. Our courtship period was 5 months, and we get along well and love each other. However, my wife can be extremely backwards sometimes, and that's one thing I don't like about her. Sometimes she can be rude and obnoxious. I hate how I am describing her, but it's all true. And she'll be judgy and sometimes make comments about someone's appearance under the guise of helping them. Oh, the dress would have had a much better silhouette if your waist was leaner. You should get your eyebrows waxed. And stuff like that when we both know that's the person's biggest insecurity. She had confessed to me once that she used to not be the nicest person back then, but that was because of her own insecurities that her parents caused in her, and she projects those onto other people, but she's trying and sometimes slips up. Last week, my youngest cousin, 23 female, who I'm very close to, had dinner with us. My aunt and uncle were there, as well as my mom and dad. Now, my cousin has a scar on her face from her family dog's attack when she was young. She did get surgery done, but those scars on her cheek are still there. Naturally, any girl would be insecure about a thing like this, and my wife maybe was just being tone deaf or something and said that she could suggest my cousin the best brand of high-coverage foundation that'll complement her skin texture very well, alluding to her scars. My cousin stammered a little and said she doesn't need it and will find someone who truly loves her regardless of her scars, standing up to her. I silently cheered on my cousin and felt that the discussion was over, until my wife said that skincare and makeup do make a difference regardless. I was beyond frustrated at this point. Here, my wife was yapping on and making my cousin feel ugly. I just thought she was being unbelievably cruel to her. So I said, "Well, you're no great beauty, honey, but I married you regardless. You needn't be concerned with her love life if it's making you anxious. Knock it off." This seemed to shut her up, and she didn't speak for the rest of the dinner. When everyone was gone, my wife yelled, "What the hell was that? And why did I make her feel so ugly and unattractive?" I told her she deserved what was coming, and there's a limit to dealing with her insecurity, and the line gets drawn when she makes someone else feel insecure. How does it feel to have your own energy returned? This seemed to set her off, and she started crying, unable to believe that's what I think of her. I am attracted to her, and to me, she's enough. But I also have a habit of trying to humble people and showing them their place, which is probably where the problem is in me. I'm the jerk here? Next story. How do I, 33 male, end my relationship with my 48 female girlfriend? I want to start this off by saying that I don't have a ton of dating experience. I've been in a few relationships that went longer than a few months, my longest being 6 years ago when I was younger and my girlfriend at the time cheated on me, so I don't have much experience. So my girlfriend and I have been together for almost 7 months now. She lives in Canada and I live in the States. We met through playing a game together, and after originally being friends, we started to casually flirt with each other, and after some time of getting to know each other, we decided to meet in person, where I traveled to her to meet. Originally, things were really good. We got along amazingly, we always talked, spent a lot of time in Discord together when we weren't at work, and we'd play games, share music, watch shows/movies together, and things were great. Since that first meeting, we've gotten together a few more times when time allows. But my work schedule has changed drastically, so now we work opposite work shifts for the past few months, which has limited our time together quite significantly. After some time, we started discussing the possibility of me getting a visa and moving to Canada for us to be together, and originally I entertained the idea, but as time has gone on, I felt more and more like that's not something I really want to do. I found myself drawing back from her more and more. We don't talk as much as we used to. I haven't been as into things. And although we spend a little time together during my work nights, 1 hour every night because after that time it's time for her to sleep due to work in the morning, and we spend my days off together, I feel like our relationship has more or less run its course. Every night we go to sleep on Discord together, so we can wake up in the mornings together. There have been mornings when I just don't wake up to my alarms because we were up until almost 1 a.m. the night before, and waking up at 6 a.m. so we can talk a little in the morning for a half hour before she has to leave for work is difficult sometimes. She's openly shown upset about this whenever it happens because she looks forward to that time in the morning, and she gets mopey about it. She's also felt the fact that I've pulled back and we've talked about it, and I've tried making efforts to change that and go back to how I used to be, where we talk a lot more during the day while she's at work and I'm not. But I keep finding myself pulling away again. I have a decent job with lots of opportunities for growth with a fantastic company. I don't want to leave this job, and I realized that I don't want to pursue anything further with her. I don't want to move to Canada. I don't want to restart my life yet again in a completely new place, and I just don't feel the same way for her as I did at the beginning. Call it the honeymoon phase or the new relationship phase, or whatever you'd like to call it. But since that's worn off, I just know that I don't want more with her. Insert the cliche, I just don't want to hurt her here, because I don't. She's been through a lot of bad relationships in the past. She's got a lot of personal baggage, as we all do, and she's in need of constant affirmation that everything will be okay, and we'll figure things out. And I keep finding myself lying to her that things will, and she wants to start planning out how we're going to make this move happen. But I keep trying to push it off because I don't have the heart to tell her that I don't want to go through with things. She keeps telling me to keep silencing the doubts by telling her things will be okay. She has a lot of doubting thoughts. I know that prolonging this is going to hurt her more and more, especially as we get closer to the original time frame for when we were originally planning on making this move happen and everything. She's supposed to be coming down to spend a few days with me in just over a week, and I find myself more or less dreading her coming down here because I know it's just not going to be great. How do I make this as amicable as possible? I know I've gotten myself into a position where no matter how it happens, it's going to hurt her, but I want to minimize the hurt as much as I can because she is a great person. She's just not my person. What kind of advice would you give to OP on how to handle this breakup? Tell me in the comments. And for our last story of today, I don't think I'm going to my best friend's wedding. I really want to know everyone's opinion on this. This argument took place over several days, so sorry for the long post. So, I have a very good friend whom I've known for well over 10 years. She got engaged a while back, and I was very happy for her, as her man is the sweetest guy, and I always thought they were the dream couple. This friend has been in therapy for years, is anxious, and has always needed the support, validation, and attention of others to make decisions, which I tried to respect, but I'll admit it was a lot sometimes. She also desperately wants kids, which is something I desperately do not want, but we've always been very understanding of each other in this regard. She never gave me that "you'll change your mind" speech, and I've always supported her in starting a family. One thing I'll also mention is that I hate when people have a problem with me and wait months before bringing it up, usually in an unrelated argument. This is something my manipulative SIL used to do before my brother went out of contact with the entire family. This will come into play later. So, I just started my first job, and in a matter of 2 weeks, I had to find an apartment and move by myself halfway across the country. It's been both physically and mentally draining, but apart from being very tired, I am taking the huge change unexpectedly well. This Monday, I received a cryptic message from this friend, with whom I've been discussing every detail of the wedding so far. The dress, the venue, the invites, the color scheme, you name it. She told me she needs to meet me for 5 minutes in our hometown, and when will I be available? I told her I don't live there anymore since I started the job a week prior, which she knew I was due to start any day. But I understand she has her own life and can't remember everything each of her friends tell her. I said I'm sorry, but I probably won't be free for the next few weeks because life's still crazy. I'm still pretty much living out of my suitcase in the new city. I don't even own a ducking pillow or more than one towel or set of sheets. Plus, I'm going through pretty brutal training at work. I expected this to be about the invites, but I wasn't sure because she wouldn't even explicitly tell me what it is she needs. I said that if it is the invites, I can't meet her right away, but I gave her several options. To wait a few weeks, send them by mail or electronically, or give them to my parents who live near her. I think I gave her a lot of options on how to solve this and asked if we could please do it in some more convenient way. Her response? No, we couldn't. The only thing she told me was that she needed to see me within the next 2 weeks, but even though I asked 2 or 3 times, she wouldn't tell me why it couldn't wait. I would only find out 2 days later that the reason was that she needed a definite guest list. I had already agreed to go about a year ago, and that she wanted to give me a few mini wedding cakes her mom had made, which she was handing out with the invites. A tradition where I come from that nobody really does anymore. I again said that right now is just about the worst time she could have come to me with this, and I hoped she would understand my situation. Instead, what followed was a 2-day-long argument over text and voice messages where I tried to set boundaries and she pretty much tried to manipulate me, saying things like, "You're really hurting me," or "I need a break from you and your behavior." I even offered to call her because we weren't getting anywhere over text, to which she said she doesn't have time, nor does she want to call me anymore. At the very peak of the argument, she decided to pull the classic, "I feel like you're so bothered by me, and I feel like you don't give a shit about my wedding." By that point, I have said several times that I am exhausted and that I'm not doing the best mentally due to all the stress, and this is just added stress where she was literally asking me to travel 2 hours both ways for a 5-minute convo, and to give me a piece of paper with information I already knew on it. Not only that, but then she whipped out that I allegedly told her about 8 months ago that I plan on stopping talking to her once she has kids. Back then, I mentioned I'm scared we'll grow apart due to living so different lifestyles because I know many childless people who lost friends like that too. I said I remember that conversation going very differently, but I can't really be sure since it was so long ago, and I asked her that next time she has some problems, please let me know sooner so we can deal with them right away and not wait for an argument to happen. At that time, I was sad and wanted to tell her to go duck herself because very unpleasant memories of my brother and his woman came back, but I think I handled it well. Her response was that I'm being condescending and treating her like a child, which is hurting her really badly, and that, again, I don't care about her at all, and that she feels like I'm bothered by her wedding. I would literally find the time to go dress shopping with her instead of studying for my finals when I was finishing my master's. After she took that aforementioned break from my behavior, I reached out to her one more time and calmly said what she said really triggered me and that I was trying to set boundaries for which I felt like she was punishing me. She much more calmly said she's not sure she wants me at the wedding anymore, to which I said I'm not sure I want to go anymore, but the decision is ultimately hers. What ducking took me out was that this whole argument was pretty much caused by the fact that all her other friends were literally jumping for joy when she wanted to give them the invites, which I didn't do. She has known me for years. I am Eastern European, and my family does not give a duck about birthdays or holidays. Weddings are just a family get-together where we catch up on gossip and drink ourselves under the table. We just do not exaggerate our emotions, and I didn't want to give her a fake reaction. I literally went to an other friend's wedding as her maid of honor, and she had asked me, "I hope you know I want you as my mo." To which I said, "Sure, I can do that." She said, "Great," and that was that. I can be happy for my friend, but I'm not going to give her a Hollywood-level performance just so she doesn't get offended. So, I told her to take a week to discuss this with her man and to let me know if she wanted me to come or not. It is her wedding, after all. The more I think about it, though, the less I feel like going. If she went this bat's hit over the invites, I can't imagine what's going to happen next, and I already feel anxious that I won't cheer loud enough or smile bright enough for her taste. I don't want to be that friend who drops her just before her wedding, and despite all this, I still care about her. But this just feels like nothing I do will be good enough. I also honestly worry she's going to tell the rest of her friends her side of the story, and then I'm going to be the black sheep at the wedding. My fiancé won't be coming with me since he stopped talking to her years ago, and the only other person I'll know there is going to be her mom. I already discussed this with my mom, fiancé, and 3 of my close friends, 2 of whom don't know her, and 1 of whom dropped her years ago for similar reasons. I am now questioning the friendship. All of them pretty much told me she was being extremely manipulative and that I definitely should drop her. I think it might be the best thing to let this one go, but I don't know if I shouldn't at least go to the wedding just to kind of show her that I really did care before I let the friendship be. Let me know what y'all think. Update. Thanks to all for your insights and suggestions. I've decided I'm going to let this friend go. I'll text her by the end of the week and tell her I've thought about this and decided it's going to be best for both of us if I don't go. I'll add well wishes for the wedding, their home and family planning, and to say hi to her fiancé for me since I consider him a good friend. Hey everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching until the end. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed what you saw and want to stay updated on future content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know when I release new videos, and you'll be helping to support my channel. So, go ahead and click that subscribe button, and let's keep this journey going together. Thanks again for your support.